Why are used Lexus vehicles so expensive? Could it be the saran wrap that they put on the grille? Perhaps the ginormous big mouth grille? Or even the checkmark LEDs? It's really none of that. When people are looking for used Lexus vehicles, you'd like to try to get a deal, but they can't. And there's 5 key reasons why in fact that is. I'm gonna break that down. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
The reason I bring this up, lately I've been shopping for used luxury vehicles. Been shopping all sorts of brands, from Lexus, BMW, Audi, Acura, you name it. I've been looking at just about every brand because I want to get into something a little bit newer. But unfortunately, one thing keeps cycling around. You can get great deals on some of their competition, but for some reason, Lexus vehicles are just so expensive on the secondary market. The first reason why some of these used Lexus vehicles are so expensive comes down to longevity and reliability. I mean, a lot of these vehicles, these full-size, the older GX 460, 470, they come with a naturally aspirated V8 engine, and they're very, very durable. And unfortunately, a lot of their competition can't claim the same to fame. Or legendary vehicles like the Lexus ES350 has the wonderful and glorious V6 engine. That's right, it's a 3.5-liter V6, naturally aspirated. Also comes with a dual direct and port fuel injection, so it never bungs up, it never carbons up. That's reliable. Very few brands can claim that. It also has an 8-speed automatic transmission, and this case is front-wheel drive. It's built basically on a Toyota platform with some of the most reliable drivetrains from Toyota brand too. Or the outgoing, extremely reliable LX570. These are some of the vehicles with the most durable, long-lasting drivetrains. This one, LX570, is the outgoing 5.7. That would often be found in these vehicles, as well as the legendary Toyota Tundra, but the outgoing version, the one that had the V8. These new ones now have a V6, not quite so durable, but Lexus has had some of the most reliable drivetrains pretty much known to mankind. It's no wonder when people get into used vehicles, they want durability, they want longevity, and they want to know that their money is safe when they buy a used vehicle, that they're not going to blow it away. The second reason why they're so expensive on the used car market is a strong demand for the brand in general as a whole. A lot of these vehicles, they don't sit very long on the lot. When they show up, if they have decent miles, they pretty much go very quickly. And when you look at days supply on the primary market, in other words, brand new vehicles, you're finding the same phenomenon. A lot of those vehicles, they come and go, they come and go. Days supply typically for Toyota and Lexus, we're in that 25 to 35 days supply when the industry average is around 70. So it's a clear indication people want Lexus vehicles. And because the newer are often longer to get, or longer lead time, or harder to get, people shuffle on over and get themselves a used Lexus if they don't want to wait. We've especially seen this phenomenon in the last few years. We know there's been car shortages, there's been truck and SUV shortages in the last few years. Since 2020, we really saw the spike in 22, and then of course it really hasn't settled out much since then. Sure, while there's been a little bit of a slump here in the last 6 months, the bottom line is sales are still up, and especially for quality vehicles with decent mileage and that have a known reliability record, vehicles like Lexus are often quick to sell. The third reason comes down to the service experience. Now, a lot of the manufacturers, particularly in the luxury car segment, always like to cater to the customers. They like to, throw a little extra comfort their way, give you the beverages, the concierge services, the fancy marble floors, the fireplace of brewing, and of course, just have all of those little things that sometimes make you feel special. But Lexus is doing that too, and some of that is the experience and the fact that you rarely get caught up with all kinds of random failures. You don't have to be shocked and surprised every time you drop off the key for your Lexus vehicle that you're going to be devastated by an estimate or a quote that is earth-shattering and show-stopping that could equate to $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 quite often to some of their competition. On top of that, other than the slight premium that you pay for the shop rate, because it is a luxury car brand, you are welcome to what's a typical maintenance regime, which is pretty standard. It's not extraordinary, but it just gets the job done and ensures that these vehicles are maintained to the nth degree without going over the top. And right here is the next reason why used Lexus vehicles are so expensive. It's the competition. Now, generally, competition drives an interesting marketplace. And while if you want some of the better driving experiences, hardcore dynamics, fire-breathing performance, you often have to look at other brands, quite often like Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, BMW, Audi. A lot of those will produce vehicles, the RS series of vehicles, and Audi, BMW has the M version, Mercedes and the AMG, they all produce extremely high levels of performance. I mean, how can Lexus possibly compete with the likes of Mercedes-Benz? The Euro design, these great grilles that are small, sleek, and performance-oriented, beautiful headlights that are lower profile and not so cumbersome, taller wheels with lower profile rubber. Of course, usually lower profile style mirrors, door handles, trim, and other features with more technology immersed, sleeker designs often in many cases, or reputations for levels of performance you often find in Germany that are capable of holding excess speeds on the Autobahn for extended periods of time. So how in fact then is Lexus able to compete with the likes of Mercedes-Benz, BMW when they have that innovation, the performance, the technology? Well, it comes down to something very simple. Lexus carries some other priority. Instead of having the priority of high-speed motoring at 250 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn, or having the latest details like the latest headlights or the fancy new grills, vehicles like this are usually focused in other places. The typical North American driver, which spends more time going A to B, driving the kids to school, loafing along down to your downtown job, taking a short trip to the lake on the weekend, getting in and out for your short trips to the grocery store. And generally the driving conditions in North America are more in which that you're stopping. Red light, green light, red light, green light. And so having a vehicle that's a fire-breathing dragon quite often just doesn't represent as big a priority for most North American drivers. Many different drivers now feel that a different shift in priority is where it's at. A vehicle that's reliable, that's going to last a long time, that's going to run hundreds of thousands of miles with minimal muss or minimal fuss. That's where a lot of drivers now are prioritizing putting their money in the secondary market. And that's why, in fact, a lot of the German cars, a lot of the British cars, the Italian cars would absolutely blow the doors off on Lexus for performance, style, and features. But in the true fashion of Toyota, that carries through to modern day Lexus vehicles. And what the priorities of North American buyers are, they just want something simple and not have to worry once the warranty runs out that they're not going to wind up with a variable money pit. So it's ultimately the competition which is pushing people to come to Lexus. Another reason Lexus is holding their great value on the secondary market is because they believe you can have your cake and eat it too. Here's a full-size SUV, and they believe that you can have all of the luxury you could possibly muster up and do it in a reliable package. I mean, they no longer are the people that are putting in 15-inch wheels and all of the basics. In fact, these vehicles are very dressed up these days. Modern day Lexus vehicles in many ways are even more luxurious than some of their competition. Look, even these vehicles here have 22-inch wheels on there, all kinds of great detailing and ventilation like you're finding a lot of modern day vehicles, big roof racks, all kinds of glass on the roof to let sun in there for the happy customers. You got heated, cooled seats, performance drivetrains. Virtually every power feature known to the automotive industry can all be wrapped up in many modern day Lexus vehicles. Now, that wasn't necessarily the thing 10 or 15 years ago, but Lexus has really brought up the game. So buying a used Lexus now represents a massive value of luxury appointments, when a lot of times owning a luxury vehicle often meant that you often had to live the Land Rover lifestyle. You get all the luxury, all the performance, but you had to pay for it at the time it was time to check into the service bay. Such is not the case. There's no compromise in driving a Lexus vehicle. You get all of that luxury, you get all of that performance in most cases, and you can do it without being guilty that you're going to worry about something major catastrophically failing. Now, we do know that there have been a few hiccups and a few glitches along the way. This one here is the LX600, and we know the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 has had a couple of issues along the way. There have been some bad engines in some cases for main bearings, but generally most of the Lexus vehicles provide all of the luxury appointments, all of the performance without a compromise to the quality. Since we're on a roll, I'm going to give you one more. Another major reason why used Lexus vehicles are so expensive comes down to another major factor. We've been hearing a lot of it in the news. It's called tariffs. That's right, taxation, tariffs, and as well, on top of that, that just means a lot of manufacturers are starting to hold back on the output of the production, or in some cases holding them at the port, or in many cases, it just means it's going to tack on cost to the front end to these brand new Lexus vehicles. But in doing that, that ultimately means that it's pushing a lot of people outside of the new car market. If it means an extra 10, 20% on the price of a new Lexus vehicle, many people are going to start reconsidering. I can't afford that. Maybe time to step into something a little lower cost, maybe even a few years older. So that's what's happening is now, of course, increasing costs on the front end on the new vehicles means a natural flow and a lagging effect and a cost increase on the used car market. As we see more tariffs and as we see shortage of days supply and we see shortages on the lots in general, it just means one thing: supply and demand kicking into high gear and driving prices up on the used car market. With all of that said, be sure to check out right there one of my classic favorites, why used BMWs are so cheap. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.